Good morning, everybody. So good to see you. Okay, let me just make sure we are going live on Facebook and Instagram. Hello, everybody who's there, and yay to everybody who is in the Zoom room live with me today. Happy Friday. It feels like forever since I saw you guys, but I think it's only been 2 weeks, right? It's been one of those, an entire lifetime has happened in 2 weeks. Last Friday, I was in Tucson at Heather's graduation from University of Arizona. The kid amazes me every single day. Let's see, what she majored in molecular and cellular biology with an emphasis in genetics and human health. She has minors in emergency medicine services, biochemistry, and anatomy and physiology, I think. I get those minors messed up. So she is 100% graduated from U of A. We are now on the countdown. I think, let me see, May 29th is the day, which is whatever day May 29th is. It's a week on Wednesday when we get the MCAT scores. So if you can all cross your fingers, cross your toes, say a prayer to whoever you say a prayer for, that these MCAT scores come in where they need to be. This kid has worked so hard on this whole MCAT preparation. And she started a job on Monday, like last Monday. She had one whole week between her last class and starting a job. She told one of her professors at the graduation, it's like, I don't know what to do with myself in that week in between. So she's now working as a scribe for a research cardiologist in Tucson. So I'm glad she knows what she's talking about, because I think you probably have to figure out a few things when you're scribing for a cardiologist. So anyway, the little kid is graduating high school on Thursday. Next week, we have she actually has Monday and Tuesday left with classes. Well, I don't know that they're actually doing any classes. Maybe they're doing finals. I don't know. And then she is a free being and off to Mesa Community College in August to study music business for 2 years. And then she is hoping to go to Berklee School of Music for the second 2 years to get her 4-year degree. So who knows what's going to happen with that one. It's all new. So if you have graduates in your family, yay to them and many congratulations, whether they're high school, college, kindergartners, 8th grade, whatever. It's all good. So let's see. We have some questions and we are going to jump right in. Let me see who is here. Do we start at the bottom of the list or the top of the list? And I'm thinking we're actually going to start. Oh, there's Kim. We'll start at the first question that we received. So Kim, you are up. I'm going to ask you to unmute here.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Kim, how's it going?
Good.
Let me figure out.
Congratulations to you and your girls. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
cool. We had a graduation too in our family.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Our son graduated from dental college, and
wow,
he is now a doctor. I asked him if he had any patients yet. He laughed at me, but he's going to be serving in the Navy now to pay that education off. So he'll be serving in the Navy as a dentist for 10 years. So we're real proud.
We have to talk some more about that. Did he do the Navy scholarship?
I believe he did. His school was paid for by the Navy. He's served already 20 years in the Marines.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and so he got out of the Marines, and then the Army said they wanted him, so he went there and got his off. He went through his officers training and for that, and then the Navy said they wanted him as a dentist, and so he's been in all three branches. So I said, "Well, it's the Coast Guard next," but that's how he paid for his schooling, and then you have to serve basically. Your service to the Navy is your payment back. Is kind of
Right.
how it works. And it worked out really well. He didn't have any problems at all having them pay for tuitions and things like that. He also received a stipend while attending school. So but some of that was a benefit of his service in the military. But yeah, the military is a good route to go to further your education and to get a college degree.
Well,
Um,
it's fascinating that you say this because I can't remember whether it's freshman or sophomore year. Heather came home from school one day after the Navy recruiters had been to talk to them. And I think they were talking about enlisting after high school. And she actually had sat and listened, and she was pretty impressed with the numbers that they showed her. Anyway, that because of her surgery and what have you, that was not an option for her. However, she has subsequently kind of got a clean bill of health, and the whole brain thing is 100% cleared up. And she has been talking to the Navy about doing medical school with them. And as you say, it is a very good plan that they present. So all of medical school is covered, a living stipend, residency. Navy residents get paid significantly more than, I guess, civilian residents. And then the next level up, I think it was a fellowship. So she is looking at that route to get through medical school. So
if she would like to talk to Matthew and find out about how his schooling was paid and everything, we could try to get them connected. I'm sure Matthew would do that.
yeah, I might let's talk about that offline because that's definitely something that's on her radar.
It would be good if she could talk to someone that has done it, I think,
Yes,
because,
yes.
then they've been through it. So, yeah, well, that's great.
Well, back to quilting.
Yeah.
So, you're working on your Simply Dreaming quilt,
Yeah.
and you say, do you have any suggestions or thoughts about choosing a thread color for the quilting? I'd like to use a color for the quilting different than the background fabric, but with a white background. I don't want to detract from the other colors, and especially the applique and the quilt. I was thinking of a light pink, or would I be better to stick with white? I'm worried it might be too busy or distracting. So I grabbed a couple of quilts that have different thread colors, because I think this is something that is beneficial whatever project we're working on. So looking at this quilt back here, can you tell what color the thread is that I used for the quilting?
Well, I made the quilt, so I know what color you used.
Well, not on this color scheme though. This
Oh,
isn't
okay.
got all of the
Yeah.
gray. Can you actually tell from where you're sitting what color thread we
Yes.
got going on
Well,
back
I
there?
can't tell you the actual color, but I can tell that the thread is a different color than the background,
Yes, it's
especially on
actually
Choose Joy every day. I can see that. And on that one, I can see it, the windmill one.
it's actually we used the same for this particular version of the quilt. We used the exact same color for quilting throughout the whole thing, and it's actually, even though we've got like the pale gray fabric, we chose, and I have no idea what the color number is. It's Aurifil, obviously, but it's like a very pale, what would I call it?
Is it a green?
It's like a it's a it it's it's not quite aqua, but it's not 100% green. It's kind of like an aqua green,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, unless you're standing right in front of it, you really cannot tell what the thread color is. And also, unless you're really up close to it, you really can't see the quilting all that well. Now, this one,
Yeah, the
Sunshine
quilting on
Cove.
that's so pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Sunshine Cove Block 3. So this is white fairy frost fabric. And can you tell what color the thread is on the screen?
No, if I had to guess, I'd say a really light pink.
You're actually pretty good. It is a really, really, really light pink. Um,
Yeah, I can
so
see it now. Yeah.
again, when you get up close to it, you can see the thread colors. When you're far away from it, you really can't determine the thread color, but you do get to see the quilting. And I think on Sunshine Cove, there is such gorgeous texture, and
Yeah.
the quilting itself is so beautiful. You really want to be able to see it. So that's one. Okay, next one I grabbed the Midnight Butterfly. So we've got purple fabric. Now the fabric actually has a fair amount of gold in it. So I picked the gold thread. Not gold metallic thread, it's gold colored thread. So again, it's a case of depending on the way the light's shining on it, the quilting again, you could make, we could have made that a whole lot bolder, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because the gold, you can see it, but it's not it's not hugely in your face.
Yeah. It doesn't detract from the rest. That was my biggest fear, is that it would pull the eye away from the applique if the quilting had color on it. That was my fear.
Right.
And
What
that
you
really
grab
doesn't, it
this
enhances it.
right. So then the next one that I picked up, and this is because when I went to Florida, I took a few quilts with me and they've just been sitting in the hallway. I really need to put them away. But okay, so this is the other version of the butterfly, and this is this is the color that it's Motor Grunge, and it's the color that they call white, even though there is a significant amount of very pale green, and you can see a lot of it
Yeah, I've seen
up
that
in the
white. I
border.
know what you're referring to. Yeah.
So the color that I used on this is Article 3020 3920, I think it is. It's a very pale variegated green, and when you look at it up close, you can see the color.
Yeah.
Further away, you really can't see the color, but you can see the quilting,
Yes.
which again, I think you really want to be able to see the quilting, but I don't think it detracts in any way from the applique, right?
No, it doesn't. Do you think using color in a quilting thread like that it can emphasize the quilting?
I think so.
Okay. Because
Yeah, I think so.
the quilting on Simply Dreaming is really pretty too. I really like all of the feather work that's in Simply Dreaming. And
Right.
and it would be pretty to do that.
So I have one more to show you. Um, and this one's got a bunch of different areas. So in the center here, I think
Yeah.
this was, I can't remember what the thread color. This is one of the variegated yellows. And again, it's like yellow on yellow. You can see the quilting depending on the way the light's shining on it. And again, it gives you that beautiful texture. The bit that I wanted to show you on this one, though, was on the flying geese. So I actually made a mistake when I was quilting this. I forgot to change the thread. So on this side, it's the same colored thread. Let me see. Yeah, it's the same. I think it's the same colored thread on all of the quilting on the flying geese. And it's kind of like a variegated gold.
Okay.
so you can see it,
Yeah, but you don't,
especially
it's
if
not,
you're closer to it, but it's not in your face by any shape or form. On
okay,
this side, and this is just, I guess, to show you that with quilting, no matter what the color of the thread is, I don't think it's ever going to really jump out. This is actually orange thread because
really?
I was quilting the diamond in a
Corner,
square in the
yeah.
corner, which I wanted to have orange thread, and then I started on the flying geese, and I forgot to change the thread color. So that is a very
Ah,
orange. That's 1133,
I
which
can
you
see, I can
can't.
see the orange now. Yeah, you wouldn't, if it's further away, you really don't see it that much.
Right. So I think you can actually get a lot stronger in the thread color than you think. When you
Okay,
see it, when you're looking at a spool of thread, like if you look at a spool of 1133, which is the orange thread that I used on there, it is a very intense orange.
yeah, I have
And
some. No, it is, yeah.
you would think putting it on pale green and on that very pale turquoise, it would really kind of be in your face, right? But it's really not.
Okay,
Let me show you something else. So this is um, the Christmas ornaments flattened out onto a little table runner. And this is actually a Floriani thread. So it's a kind of a pale green on an ivory fairy frost, but that's triple stitch. So
yeah,
in order to actually make it visible, the triple stitch is what you need, because
okay.
if that was not in a triple stitch, I don't think it would be anywhere near as visible as it is.
No, I agree.
Okay. So I think the moral behind all of this is you can go much stronger in color than you think you can. And
Okay,
I think on Simply Dreaming, because it does have all of that feather quilting on it, I think you could really emphasize it, and it's not going to, emphasize it with a much darker thread than you might think, and it's not going to detract from any of the applique.
okay. All right. I really appreciate your opinion. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let me
Bye.
make sure you post some pictures when you actually get to the quilting.
Okay, yeah, I
It'd
will.
be fun to
I've
see.
been doing some little samples just to kind of look at it, and that's where I kind of settled on maybe a pink, but yeah, no, I'll send pictures once I get going with the quilting.
Okay, cool. I'm
Thank,
excited to see it.
thank you. Me too.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Ruth, you are up next.
Hi,
Hello
Sarah.
there. It has been way too long. Way, way, way too long. I know I've seen you on our Friday Zoom calls, but when we were all getting together with the Digitizing a Design Masterclass Plus, and it's been way too long.
It has been
Anyway, it's so good to see
always
you.
fun. Thank you. Good to see you too on Zoom.
Okay, so Mel's Practical Joy. You're working on block 1A.
Finally starting it.
Yay! Now, okay, so we just happen to have Practical Joy back here, but it is not the version that has piece blocks on it, and you can't see the bits that we need to see. So never mind. Okay, so block 1A is a little block that you would think would go with block 1 because it's called block 1A, right? But and the reason that it would come with block 1 is the applique on it is actually kind of extracted from the main block 1. You would like to think that it was going to be all in block in with block 1, right?
Usually.
However, yeah. So the thought process went along the lines of the main block 1 had the yellow squares on the border. Block 1A had the little green triangles. Maybe if I pulled up a picture, just in case anybody is wondering, what in the world is she talking about? Let me just...
Yeah, that's why I figured you had moved it to a later one.
Yeah, there actually was a really good reason. And a number of people have been saying, where is block 1A?
Yeah, the advantage of having all the blocks is you can go through and look through all of the different ones for all the months and find out where things are.
Yeah, and I saw the file that you put in the Facebook group where you had identified the different blocks. That was awesome. So thank you for that. Okay, so this is the quilt with this is the original quilt. So block 1 is this one, and it had the yellow squares. Block 1A is this one. So you see the applique here is actually this little piece here. It's just been mirrored or flipped. But this has the green triangle borders. Block 2 is this one with the
kind of like angled,
the green chevron-y kind of thing.
Yeah.
Block 3 is this one with the pink triangles. These are kind of more flying, well, they're flying geese pointing outwards. Block 3A also has the flying geese pointing outwards, and block 3B has the same border as block 2. Block 4 you would like to think I would be able to point at block 4 and tell you exactly which one it is, right? Which one is block? It's got to be this one. No, which one is block 4? Oh, it's this one. Okay, goodness. So block 4 went back to the same yellow square borders, and it had some of the pink triangles. Block 5 is this one, I think, which is the first big time that we had the green triangle borders, right? So what we decided, given that in block 1 everybody's getting started, and I didn't want to overwhelm everybody with multiple borders on day 1, I decided let's keep block 1 and put it with block 5, so that once we're stitching out this border, then we're just going to stitch a handful more of those triangles and put it on here, right? So that is why block 1A you will find in block 5 in the product. Now, in your question, you're saying the PDF instructions for block 1A and the video in block 3. Did you really mean block 3?
Yeah, the video's in block 3 for doing the triangles.
Yeah, but the block 3 triangles are different.
Okay, because there wasn't a video for the other triangles, but the block 3 stitches all 10 of them, whereas in the PDF instructions, you do 2 at a time as you go down the 2 columns. You do 1 in each column as you go down to get all 10 of them. Okay.
Hang tight just a second.
And I didn't know if you could do the 10 of them, because I have one more hooping. I only did the first 10. And it's like, well, can you do all 10 of them? Is that a wise thing to do or not? Because it takes a lot of time to, take it out of the hoop, put them on, put it back on, and keep going. I didn't change thread. I use the same thread color, but still, taking it on and off and on and off, clipping the jump threads and stuff before you go to the next one. So I was just wondering, because I saw in the video for block 3 that it did all 10 of them. For each step it would do, 10, and then you would take it out of the hoop, clip everything, and then do the next step.
So I'm actually looking in block 5,
Yeah, block 5 didn't have any videos.
wondering why there are no videos.
Are there supposed to be
That's
videos for 5?
I thought so because it had the new border. Okay,
Is
let me
it?
investigate
Yeah,
that.
because it's kind of
Let
the
me
same
investigate.
same technique. So that's why I thought the
Well,
video in 3 was supposed to be
it's
the.
actually a little bit different because let me just you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I got the block 3 instructions up. Let's just have a look at the block. Where are we? We want practical joy. Block 3 instructions, how to stitch it. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Block 3 is just like symmetrical. I guess
yes,
flying geese and the the 1A
yes.
border isn't symmetrical, but it's kind of the same idea. You put down the center
Well,
square and then you put down 2 different sizes of the sides.
so so for block 3, you can put down all of the pieces for the one side at the same time
Right.
and stitch them, right?
Yeah.
So look at where they actually are sitting. We'll zoom in on this picture here. So you can actually put all 10 pieces of fabric down and they're not like this piece of fabric does not get in the way of this piece of fabric seam line,
Oh, okay.
right?
Right.
You can actually see it a bit better there.
Yeah.
However, on block 1A or block 5, when you are putting the pieces of fabric on, can you see
Oh,
if
a
you
little tiny
were,
overlap. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
if
okay.
you were going to
Okay.
put all of the pieces down, then you're going to be stitching on
Okay.
something else,
Okay.
which is
Because
why
yeah.
for these guys, we did them 2 at a time, 2 side by side, and then you flip it out of the way, and then you can put the next one down, stitch the seam line versus this one. And
Okay.
what
I
is the,
see.
so the difference is,
The pieces are smaller.
well, it's not so much that the pieces are smaller. These guys pointing down, well,
Well, whether it's pointing down or
this
pointing up,
is
I don't think
pointing down
that
versus
doesn't
those
really
guys are
matter.
pointing up.
Yeah. I don't think it
But
really
the
matters.
pieces, yeah, the pieces are smaller. And you know why they're smaller? Because for for the block 3 or for the pink triangles, we've got extra height to them so that they go out into the seam allowance. Whereas for these guys, the extra seam allowance is actually coming over here because it the left hand side piece of fabric that goes down versus the right hand side piece of fabric that goes down is actually significantly bigger because this bit needed to go out into the seam allowance a bunch more. We could have put all of this side down at the same time. These pieces for the second side, those could all have gone down at the same time. But the first side, because they are bigger, they would have gotten stitched over.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to investigate why there weren't any videos for block 5 because they were different triangles. I honestly can't remember if we filmed any or not. But there's usually method to the madness of writing instructions.
No, they were good instructions. I mean, it stitched out just fine. I did have another question though that I didn't put in there. So I did take the suggestion of using the sticky tearaway to try that. And yeah, you don't need a whole lot of Scotch tape at all, just a little bit on the last one when you flip
Yeah.
them. And that worked out nice. The thing is trying to tear off that sticky stabilizer. I was wondering if you had any tips. What I ended up, it took me 3 tries to figure out a way that I could do it relatively fast. The first 2 were like, this is taking a heck of a lot of time. There's got to be a better way. So I figured out that if I take out all of the placement stitching, then I could fold and tear along those seam lines and then use some little, I have a little plastic, what they call it, the purple thing,
Yeah.
and kind of loosen it up in the triangle part. The rest of it, you could just kind of pull away and then tear along the seam line. And then that made it a lot faster. And then you have to use tweezers to kind of get the last little bits out if you want to get those
Right.
little bits out. But I was wondering, is there a method that you guys came up with to do that one faster with the sticky tearaway? Since you recommended it, I figured that somebody had done it.
Okay, I am actually going to call on Joe because it was Joe who figured out using the sticky stabilizer. It's one of those situations where I think it's a case of there's swings and roundabouts, right? Using regular tearaway stabilizer with bits of Scotch tape or bits of double-sided tape is going to give you one set of advantages. One of them being it's probably quicker to tear it away versus using the sticky stabilizer makes sure that you don't need any of the double-sided tape. You can just plop your pieces down, and when you fold them out, they're nice. You know, they're held exactly where you want them to be. However, it's going to probably take a little bit longer to tear it away because the stabilizer is going to be thicker in the first place, and obviously it's sticky and it's touching everything in the block. So Joe, do you have any suggestions? Did you come up with any cool ways of getting rid of that stabilizer?
I I just left on what I couldn't get off. It made no difference. I tore off as much as I could, and then the rest of it stayed on. You weren't going to see it anyway.
Okay. And so I'm almost turning to look at, so imagine that you've got the triangles. I would imagine that the most challenging place to get it out of is actually in the triangle. Only these guys were going this way. The pink guys, which pink guy can you see? You can see this, but the pink guys were going that way. So the wings, I would imagine it was easier to tear away than pulling like the actual triangle part.
Yeah.
Did you leave the triangle in, or did you actually tear that center triangle out?
I tried tearing it out. If it came out, good for me. If it didn't, it got to stay.
Okay.
And that's another possibility.
And
I
did
didn't
it make
see
the
where
seams thicker or not? No.
No, I mean, do you iron the back of yours at all? The seams?
Well, I did press it before I cut it.
Yeah, it didn't make a difference.
Okay.
It didn't. To me, it made zero difference.
Okay. And one other tip is don't use Scotch tape with the sticky stabilizer. It really stuck. I only did it on one. It was the first one, and then right in the little bit, and it kind of tore. It's like, okay, don't do that.
Yeah.
What did you say afterwards?
What did I say afterwards? Oh, darn. Okay, guess I don't do that.
That's exactly what I said.
Yes, Joe, I think we all do not believe that.
Learn by trial and error.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's more the words that were coming out of her mouth. So Marilyn said, she just finished this part. She used regular stabilizer and no tape.
No tape.
Okay, Marilyn, you're
Really?
coming on too because I want to know how you managed to do this without any tape.
Because I
I
end
don't
up
leave
with
it
my
alone.
foot catching on sometimes if I have something
Yeah.
there. I stitched one thing out that had a little line, and sure enough, it caught it because I hadn't taped it down. It was some other project, but it was like,
Yeah.
oh, rats.
Well, my machine will let me use my foot pedal to stitch. So I can
Uh-huh.
control quicker when I start and stop and the speed that I'm going. All
Oh,
machines may do that. I don't know.
yeah,
But
the Bernina does.
yeah. So I stitched
Mm.
the little squares on the stabilizer without thread. I just put holes. Then I laid down my first little square where I knew the next stitching was going to go. And I stitched that line. And then and it's the placement line. So then I moved up to the next square and placed that little piece of fabric, stitched it. And so the stitching holds it down. Then the next step is putting on the square, you put the one piece of fabric. So I put that piece and stitched the seam line and flipped it out. And I finger pressed it.
Mhm.
And then I went to the next piece and I put on that square, I put the next piece of fabric and flipped it out.
Did you use the little sticky corners to stick the first square down?
Nope.
No. So you went directly to the placement line, the sideways placement line?
Are you holding it in place with your fingers though on the stabilizer?
Yeah, but not right where it sews, obviously, but at the outside
Right.
edges. And you can hold it and stitch with your foot pedal
Hmm.
so that it's smooth. And that's the way I did all of them.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a good tip. Hmm.
So if you
Interesting.
don't mind having your fingers decently close to the needle on the machine.
Or you can use your seam ripper or a stylus or something to hold it down. Even a straight pin will help if you don't want to get your fingers close. But I've sewn for 50 something years, maybe longer, and I'm not uncomfortable with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine doing that too. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
have to give that one a try and see how that works.
Just try it on one thing, and if you don't like it, then you can always put the tape on it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I have one more hooping for 10 more of these things. So
Yeah. So you're almost done.
Plenty to try with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could try it with without the sticky stabilizer, do it with the regular one and try it your way and see how that works. So it might be a lot faster because then you don't
Yeah.
have to put all the little sticky things down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have one more hoop of 10 for that block or
Block
for the whole
1A.
quilt?
No,
Okay.
just for 1A. I'm just doing one block at a time. So I'm starting with the
Okay.
smallest one, simplest stuff, but
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
learn how to do the in the hoop
Right.
border pieces there.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose
Well,
it.
when I'm working on this quilt for Susie, she had embroidered the first 10 blocks, and so she sent all of it to me, and I finished the other 4 and then the borders. And so I had all the blocks embroidered before we put any borders on. And I just went through all the green ones and I figured out how many of each size I needed, did all of them at one time, and then sewed them on, and they look perfect. I mean, they're
Oh.
up there.
So you did all the quilting in the main applique area before you put the borders on?
No, no, you put the
Oh.
borders on first,
Okay.
and
That's what
then
I
you
thought.
quilt it. Yeah,
Okay.
because the
Okay.
borders have quilting.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So,
Yeah.
okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah. No, I've just got the borders on. None of those are quilted yet.
Okay, so you did the whole applique stuff first before you put the borders on, and then you did the
Right.
quilting.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ruth, just so that you know, this is, and I've only just twigged onto this is the second practical joy quilt that Marilyn's made, because Marilyn made her quilt, which, if I'm correct in thinking, that is going on one of Joe's beds with Joe's quilt. And
Yeah,
now
she
you're
has
making Susie's. How is Susie, by the way?
she's doing better. She's working on a little project, and we're going to try to have that finished by the end of May.
We'll give her all our love.
Yeah.
And for those of you who aren't aware, Jimmy passed away quite a while ago now, right?
In middle of January. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's been getting through that.
Yes, it's a struggle, but she is getting a lot better.
Good. We'll be sure to send her all of our love from Meaning of Life Designs.
Okay.
One more quick question, Marilyn. So did you
Sure.
put the borders on after you did all the appliques on all the blocks?
Yes.
Okay. And did that go a lot better?
I'm a rule breaker. I'm a rule breaker.
No, that's fine. I saw other people commenting that they put the borders
Yeah.
on afterwards, and so I was wondering how that went. And it
So
sounds like
here
it
was my
easier.
here was my thinking about it. The background fabric is cut to the right size,
Yes.
and the edges of it are not going to change. There may be some shrinkage in the middle from the applique part, but the edges are going to be the same.
Mhm.
So the border is going to fit on it like it would if you had done it originally before the applique.
Okay.
And then you just smooth it out and make it square. You know, when you put it on the batting, make sure the corners are square, and then pin it real well and stitch in that ditch, and then stitch around the edges so they don't flip up and get a presser foot caught or whatever, like once has happened to me too. And then you just quilt it and then move on to the next one. So,
Okay.
you know, that just seemed to be a little quicker method for me. I don't know. I'm a rule breaker.
Hey, if it works, it's great. It's not
Yeah.
breaking any rules.
It's a
Marilyn,
case of,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to do what works for you. So my
Marilyn,
thinking
did you take
behind,
the shortcut?
Did I take a shortcut?
Did you really? Did I just hear Marilyn took a shortcut?
Well, I don't know if it was a shortcut. It ended up being the same amount of work.
well, you
It was
all were
just at
taking
different
the
times.
same shortcut, Joe,
Right? I thought I was the
right?
queen of shortcut.
So Ruth, so those two could kind of wind each other up all day long. My thinking behind putting the borders on first is, and the whole reason for cutting the center part to size, adding the borders, and then doing the applique, and then doing the whole quilting is purely to keep the amount of fabric used down. Right? Because normally if we were if we did the applique first, there would be probably an inch all around extra to accommodate that little bit of shrinkage that's always going to happen when you put the applique on. So you've got some trimming to do. There was not any clear center in any of these blocks to allow trimming so that you could get the quilting, especially around the outside edges, exact. So I figured the easier way to do it was start out with a piece of fabric, you know exactly what size it is, add the borders, which has the advantage of keeping your seat or the edges of your fabric clean on that center panel, right? And then you know that the quilting is going to fit. Because some of the quilting designs actually are placed based on the corners of that inside piece of the border.
Okay.
But my
So
I'll just mention that the background fabric didn't fray and it was floated in the hoop. So it wasn't any stretch to it or anything like that. And so I didn't have any trouble getting the borders on it the exact size that it should have been. They were flat and straight when I got through with the embroidery.
Okay.
there's lots of different ways that you could do this. And probably all of them are going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. I have several things I can try and figure out which one works for
Yeah.
me. Thank
And
you.
if you're
Laura.
starting on block 1A, then You got lots of blocks to experiment
I
with.
know. This is just the first one. I figured with the quilting and the hoop, because I haven't done it before. I only did the sample one and that came out fine. So I was like, okay, let's go to the next size up.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
So
Good
whilst we're
idea.
having this conversation about practical joy, I see Wendy sitting. I'm going to bring Wendy on if you're good with that, Wendy. I just asked you to unmute there
morning.
because if you have not seen on Facebook, Wendy has the very first award-winning Mel's Practical Joy quilt. I think that is fabulous, Wendy. It was so cool to see the picture of you with your quilt, and
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Any
Thank you.
tips?
So, also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Yellow Submarine won Best of Show.
Yes, I saw that too. Oh my
And
God.
what happened was both of them were in the same category, but because my Yellow Submarine got boosted up to the Best of Show, then that put Practical Joy into second place in the awards of it. So that was kind of cool.
That's exciting. That is really cool.
Yeah, it was.
It's way
It was an
cool.
honor. It's a very prestigious show, actually. They have over 300 quilts that are judged. So Sarah, feather in your cap because I was blown away. And I've had so many phone calls from the guild and comments and will you teach us a class? How did you end up getting that so flat? There's just been numerous. And one of the girls was telling me, sorry, she was there when the judges were judging. They could not figure out how I put it together. They couldn't figure out how was all that beautiful quilting on the back and it was all put together. So they were
That's special.
also very surprised. So
The joy quilt?
credit to you, Sarah. I just did the work, but your designs are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Was
you.
that the joy quilt, Wendy, that you were commenting, that they were commenting on?
No, I think it's the Yellow Submarine.
Yellow
that they're
Submarine one.
probably
Okay,
commenting
yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were both
Anyway.
beautiful.
Thank you.
So, now your Yellow Submarine had stars on it, right?
Yes.
Daryl, I think Daryl Leach also has a Yellow Submarine, which has stars on it, that one in Paducah.
Oh, really? There you go.
Wow. Great.
Very good.
I also saw, you remember that quilt that had part of Sedona's star
Yes.
and some other things of yours all mixed together in one quilt? That's going to
It's
be on a calendar.
Heather Feather Border, Sedona Surprise, Go Bedazzled, and 4 people getting together and
Yeah.
doing amazing things.
That's going to be on a calendar. The front of a
I
calendar.
think I know that because they asked me if they could publish it. It's like, why in the world would I say no?
Oh, really?
But I did ask them to send me a copy of it. So I
Yeah.
think I knew that, although I had forgotten. But yay!
Pretty cool.
It is so cool. You guys, you know what? You guys are awesome though for stitching these things out. They are not simple quilt in a day kind of quilts. I don't think anything we've ever done at Meaning of Life Designs is a quilt in a day kind of quilt. It takes dedication. So I am in awe of the fact that you guys join me on these journeys. So thank you. And thank you for putting the quilts out into the world in the competitions. That means the world to me.
I also think it's so much fun to kind of stand back and listen to the comments of people that make, and then you sneak up behind them and just say, well, and they'll say, is that your quilt? And then you get into a really cool conversation with people. So that's kind of, you sort of stand back and listen and then, yeah, it was good.
Yay. Thank you. Okay. That's all for Practical Joy for today.
Thank you, Sarah, and everybody else for all your tips.
Keep us informed how you get on and any discoveries. One thing that I discovered about Ruth in the Digitizing a Design Masterclass and the Plus, i.e. the Advanced class, is that you approach your projects with such dedication, whether it was the monthly challenge during the class, but you're so organized and you have this amazing ability to be able to document step by step. It was a joy to see it every single month. So I'm excited to see what you are coming up with Practical Joy.
Well, thank you. And it's a beautiful design. As soon as I saw it, I said, I want that one.
Yay, good.
So
Okay.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much, ladies. We're moving on. We have another Simply Dreaming question coming right up. So let me organize the screen here. And let's see. We actually have one question. Let me see. Nancy is not here. Nancy is working on Jazzilicious, although she calls it Jazzilicious, which I love. Just in case you don't know the origins of the name Jazzilicious, the Heather Feather quilt was named after Heather, my older daughter, the one who just graduated from U of A, and her nickname as a little tiny girl was Heather Feather, hence the Heather Feather quilt. And then Jasmine decided that she needed a quilt named after her, and Jazzilicious was made so that AccuQuilt would actually publish the Heather Feather dies, right? So Heather Feather, Jazzilicious, they use the exact same set of applique shapes. It's kind of interesting because the girls have very a lot of people think they're twins, even though there's 4 years difference between them. But Jazzilicious is the shortened version of Jasmine is Delicious, because she was such a cute old little kid when she was tiny. And now she's nearly 6 feet tall. Anyway, do we have any videos for this quilt? We do not. That happened a long time ago, before we were doing videos. But if you go to our YouTube channel, we have quite a few videos, and I'm going to pop one link in the chat if I can find it. And it's actually for Submarine, Sunshine Cove. And it is the exact same technique that we use, and we have been using for 15 years. Can you believe it? In terms of getting a design to stitch exactly where you want. The theory is, if you can stitch one design exactly where you want it, simply by including a crosshair in the design and having a corresponding crosshair marked on your quilt via a piece of stabilizer. I do not subscribe to drawing anything on the actual fabric. If you can get that one design exactly where you want it on a piece of fabric, then you can stitch as many designs as you need to on that one piece of fabric, including, like, let's say this block. No hoop on the planet, well, no hoop on the domestic embroidery market will stitch that whole thing in one shot. But if you've got a simple grid system there and the design has been split so that you are aligning the different hoopings with the grid via this one simple technique of placing a design, then you can stitch anything you want anywhere and pretty much guarantee that it is going to all fit together. So the video that I posted in the comments is for one of the Sunshine Cove blocks. That exact same technique will apply to Jazzilicious. So as long as you're looking at the diagrams for the specific block, or the specific design that you're going to stitch, you'll be drawing crosshairs, and then the design includes that corresponding crosshair, and you're going to use a pin to get the placement. Okay. Let me see. Laurie has a question. And we actually talked about this a while ago. Now that I'm not seeing Laurie here, but Laurie said, is there a place in the pattern for Simply Dreaming that has how many more blocks it will take to make quilt, the Simply Dreaming quilt bigger, 120-inch with a month 3 row? Just having a hard time trying to figure out how many appliques to cut for the block, and does it add more to the outer borders? So let me share my screen again. So this is Simply Dreaming Bigger in month 9 of Simply Dreaming, which is when we finished doing all of the applique for the quilt. I published some options for both the 5-inch blocks and the 7.5-inch blocks so that you could make the quilt bigger. So the basic quilt pattern is this, which results in a quilt that's 97.5 inches square. Now then, we had an option. This one is adding a ring of month 3 blocks around month 7. So month 7 is this this border here with the flowers on the pale ivory background. And if we compare that with this one, so this is month 7 here. Month 8 is this the green background circles. Month 9 is the outer border of the quilt. So by adding block 3, a ring of block 3 in between month 7 and month 8, you can achieve 112.5 inches square. If you add month 7, month 8, and then month 3, a ring of month 3, with another round of month 8, then you have your 120-inch square. So Laurie, if you're watching the replay here, this is the page that you're going to want to be looking at. So page 11. And in terms of figuring out how many more blocks it's going to take, it's literally a matter of counting them up. So this this month 8 ring here, this first round of green circles on the green background, that's as it is in the original quilt. Then you are adding these guys up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times 4. So 48 more blocks. Half of them with the pale green applique in the center and the turquoise in the border, half of them with the darker green applique in the center and the pale green borders. So 48 blocks total, 24 of one colorway, 24 of another colorway. A few weeks ago, we sat with Kim and actually went into CorelDRAW and figured out using CorelDRAW how much more extra fabrics that you need. Laurie, I cannot remember if you have done the digitizing and design masterclass or not. Let me have a quick look. And I don't think you have. Kim, do you remember when it was? I'm going to ask you to unmute. Do you remember when it was that we talked about this? Because we definitely did not so long ago.
It was at least a couple months ago.
Okay.
I'm
Um,
gonna check, and I may still have some of those measurements written down. I'll look.
Okay. But Laurie, if you're watching the recording, go into YouTube, into our YouTube channel, and Rhea is doing a really good job of segmenting each of our Zoom calls up so that if you have a specific question, and we've talked about it before, you can go look at it. So if you can't find it, send us an email and we will let you know. This also has an extra ring of the blocks, block 8. So not including the corners, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, of which 6 of them are the dark colored circles, and 7 of them are the light colored circles multiplied by 4. So 6 by 4 is 24 of these darker circles, 7 by 4 is 28 of these light colored circles, and then the extra 4 corner blocks. So I managed to lose Laurie's question, but you definitely want to be looking at page 11 and then go back and look at the Zoom call that we did a couple of months ago when we went through actually in CorelDRAW how to figure out how much extra fabric is going to be needed. Kim, is this the variation that you are working on?
No, it's the one that includes,
This one.
no, it's the one that uses that one.
Okay, so that,
No,
okay.
not that one, but instead of the month 1 blocks there, on the outer edge, I have the month 3 blocks. So it has the inner border for month 2 and the month 3 blocks. That one, nope, not quite. There,
This
that's
one.
it.
Okay.
That's it.
So this is actually the only difference between this one on the one on page 11 is this row here is from month 4, month 3, month 4,
No,
month
the
2, month
month
2.
2.
It's this one
Yeah.
here. Oh my goodness. This is month 2 instead of month 8. So think about, or kind of grab that one and then that one. So the only difference is this round here. So for Laurie, if you're watching the replay, definitely go back and look at when Kim and I were playing in CorelDRAW for figuring out how much extra fabric is going to be required. Okay. We are at the top of the hour already. Does anybody have a Zoom call for next week on your calendar? Next week is May 24th. I can't remember whether we actually told you about it or not. We had tentatively planned on having an Awakened Hearts, Hearts and Kisses quilt class. I'm still writing instructions. It's actually, to tell you the honest truth, I haven't yet gotten to writing the instructions. I've been actually putting the quilt together. Next week is going to be writing the instructions. So if nobody knows about May 24th, then we are just going to take that off my calendar since that's the only calendar it's on. I think, let me have a quick look. 2 weeks from today is May 31st. So it's our 5th Friday. So we will be here for all of your show and tell. It's our 5th Friday extra Zoom call. So whatever you've been working on, Meaning Alive Designs, Marilyn, some of your second time around Mel's practical joy blocks. Ruth, I'd love to see where you've got to with your practical joy blocks. Jan, and your Sunshine Cove, which I absolutely am loving your daily progress reports on that, challenges and all. I think it's fabulous. So whatever you've been working on, I would love to see it in 2 weeks. I hope you will join me then. And fingers crossed, everybody, I will have the Hearts and Kisses quilt to show you. I have got one more seam to do. I was hoping to have it done today, but it just didn't happen. If I can't get that one more seam done and binding put on this quilt in the next 2 weeks, something is seriously wrong. So let's all go sew this afternoon and get out and get some beautiful sunshine, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for coming.